Before I start, I feel like I have to give triumph to Blaine for actually pulling off those blue pants. I'm serious. They're awesome. I want to get my husband some. So 10 years ago, I was flaming single, and I was leading a Sex and the City existence in New York City. And I was hell-bent on finding the right guy to marry. And if I was going to let my background tell me what the right guy was, it would be a guy who made a big fat salary, probably as an investment banker, who had a blue blazer in his closet. And though I appreciated the appeal of that, I also knew that I wanted something a little bit more creative and zany and rebellious. So I would say that I believe in the power of possibility. I'm going to go like this. And I also am a type A personality. So however long it took to find exactly what I wanted, I was totally psyched to try and get it. And I went out on lots of dates until I met Teddy. And Teddy made a big salary as a creative director at an ad agency. So he drew for a living. He went to a prep school, and he went to a small liberal arts college. He had a single handicap in golf, yet he had this incredibly huge tattoo on his thigh. And I thought, wow, amazing. I found this awesome combination. And we fell madly in love. So after 3 months, he moved in, and after 6 months, we got engaged. And everything was amazing until about 2 months before the wedding. And Teddy started pulling away. And when I tried to kind of push him on what was going on, he was very standoffish, and I finally kind of nailed him down and said, what's going on? And he said, I don't think I can get married. And I remember the day where he was in my apartment surrounded by his stuff and wanting to grab his face in my hands and say, what are you talking about? I love you. Like, I don't take this lightly, and I can see our future together, and we're soulmates, and what's going on? But at the same time, I felt this particular sense of pride. So I'm like, I'm not going to make you marry me. So I made this decision to actually be cool about the fact that Teddy wasn't giving me an explanation for what was going on in his mind and what broke off the wedding and what ended up breaking up the relationship. And I still don't know what happened. Am I talking too loud in the mic? Okay. I still don't know what happened. So he moved his stuff out, and he asked for the ring back. And I never got a real answer of what happened. And I was traumatized. And in that time, I had a real moment where I had to recognize that my personal life was shit. And I also had to acknowledge that my professional life wasn't really going quite the way I wanted it to either. So I had been in Manhattan making it as a sports reporter. And I had been working like hell to get the gigs, but I'd been making a living on camera. But I had realized that I actually didn't really like sports, despite the fact I was a sports reporter. And what I realized is what I loved was the hallmark moments, the human interest moments. So I'm so proud of or I've worked so hard for. And I would say, yeah, I get it. Like that's what I love. I also loved video. So I wasn't somebody that said, I'm going to make the best, great next film. I loved the medium of video. I loved hallmark moments. And I also knew I was a really lucky kid, and I knew a lot of people. So I sat there in this kind of personal purgatory and said, what am I doing with my life? I need to take responsibility for myself. I love the medium of video. I know a lot of people. I love hallmark moments. Hallmark moments, video, round and round. And all of a sudden I woke up one day and I said, hold on. Why can't I start a company where I make videos about people I know talking about their hallmark moments? And that's how Milligrace Productions was born. We are a video production company that makes high-end personal tribute videos for big events. And I love what I do. So when I started the business, at that point, all of my friends were not only getting married, but they were having children. And so they would talk about all the milestones, and I would think, you know what? I have a baby too, and her name is Milligrace, and she's crawling. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Whoa, she's on the table. She's standing up, but she's wobbling a little bit, but she's moving forward. And 2 years later, from the moment of starting my business, I remember one night pushing back from my desk by myself, thinking, wow, Milligrace is walking. My business is totally working. And guess what? My heart is healed from Teddy. I can totally move forward with my life, finally. And at the time, I was working so hard that I was really tired. And then I started realizing that my hand went numb. It was going numb. I couldn't really feel it very well. And then I started realizing that there was a delay on my entire left side. So even though my brain was saying right, left, my whole left side was moving a millisecond behind my right side. And by the time I called the neurologist, I couldn't keep my balance. So the neurologist brought me in for an MRI, and he called me the next day and he said, "You have MS. And not only do you have MS, but you have an enormous lesion on your C4 vertebrae, and in light of where it is, you could be paralyzed if we don't treat it. I've got a hospital bed waiting for you, don't even pack." And I went down the stairs by myself. I got into a taxi cab, and I remember going down the streets, and it was 2 days before Christmas. And I don't know if any of you have been in Manhattan at Christmas time. Show of hands? Okay. Tourists, festive, joy, merriment. And I'm in the taxi cab, and all I'm thinking, as I'm hearing the slush underneath the tires, is, this is varsity fucked up. Because I can't even get a grip on how backwards my life is going right now compared to what I want. In fact, when you think about MS, you think about wheelchairs. And all I could do in that moment was think, I could be in a wheelchair, and my life was in a wheelchair. Like I was going this way, and I didn't know how to make it better. And there were a couple of people that I'd called that day, and I just casually mentioned I was going to the hospital with MS. And they showed up, because that's what friends do. And the next day, they were sitting around my hospital bed, and I said, you know what? Maybe this will be one of the better things that's ever happened to me. And I wanted to hold on to that, I think, because I was in such a vortex of confusion and fear and not knowing how to kind of step forward. And I was desperate to grab onto something that would give me the semblance of control. And I wanted to hold on to it if things got harder, and they definitely got harder. So I left the hospital, and I got my motor function back, which was awesome. But I started experiencing all these really weird symptoms. Head tremors, muscle fibrillations. But worst of all, I ended up walking around like I had this 24/7 hangover. I felt awful. And at this point, I'm seeing the specialists at Mount Sinai, some of the best MS doctors in the world. And I call my doctor, and I say, so what do you guys do for feeling this bad? Like, what's the medication for this? He says, we don't do anything. If you drop the glass, we can help you. But if you don't drop the glass, we can't help you. That's the nature of the illness. And I could not believe this to be so. So I threw myself into a wide variety of complementary techniques. Reiki, mercury filling removal, supplemental therapy with an osteopath, taking naps, changing my diet, getting rid of grumpy people in my life. Recommended. But most importantly, I began to believe that I could make myself feel better. What if I could make myself better? And a year later, I went to get a check on my MRI, which is what you do with MS, and the radiologist came back with the MRI. And not only were there no new lesions, but the existing lesion that had diagnosed me in the first place on my C4 vertebrae had reduced so significantly that the radiologist couldn't find it on the MRI. And the MS specialist, who had been in the practice for 20 years, admitted off the record that in his practice he had never seen such a radical reversal of myelin damage in his life. So I got my health in check. But before you think the story's over, do not forget I am now in my late 30s, single in Manhattan with a chronic illness. And if anyone has lived in New York, you know being in your late 30s and single in Manhattan is almost like having a chronic illness. So I really wanted to believe that I could find the guy that I had wanted to be finding for a long time. And I didn't want to settle. What if I didn't have to settle? And I went out as hard as I had before, looking for somebody, and the heavens opened, and I went out on a blind date with a guy from Mississippi named Tyler. And Tyler was great for a lot of reasons, but what I think was interesting about his story is he had a very close family member who had suffered from an illness very similar to MS, and she was severely debilitated. But he ended up deciding that that didn't make a difference in light of our relationship. So he moved in after 3 months, We got engaged after 6. Sound familiar? But this time we got married. I got pregnant on my honeymoon on purpose. We now have 2 children, and I live in Phoenix because Tyler works for Amex, and we got transferred, and I'm in a very different and happy place. But I have a 4th child on the way, and her name is Counterpain, and she is my newest startup. And she is an online community for the chronically ill that brings people together not only by their shared illness, but by how they feel. And you guys haven't seen the pictures, but I have, and she is beautiful. We're starting with MS because I have a particular affinity for the illness. It's going to go a lot farther. And I want to believe it's going to take the people who have MS and their caregivers in the state of Arizona and connect them, because I happen to know it's a fragmented and isolated place. But there is a bigger purpose. From my experience, I have learned that the power of possibility, which I held on to so desperately for so long, that has been so important to me, is me. I am the power of my own possibility. And I now want to build a space online for people in their most vulnerable time to learn the same lesson about themselves. Thank you.